Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mining Now. I'm your host, Jared Downey. Today we have PX4 Software on the show. We've got their managing director, Bill Haylock, on, and Toby Carrigan. He is their general manager. So we're going to be walking through who they are, who they are as a company, the systems that they're offering the mining sector, which is in very high demand right now. And we'll be talking about sort of their growth strategy. They're an Australian company here pushing into the North American market, so we're obviously going to discuss that. And also where the mining industry is at. So lots to cover today. Before we do that, we need to talk about our heavy industry tour. That's still going. We just did IMARC. We did 17 episodes in Australia. Just had a great time. And then we're off to Indaba, February 6th to 9th. That's going to be in Cape Town, South Africa. So if you're going to Indaba, let us know. We can get you on an episode there of Mining Now. Then on the Crownsman Show, we will be at PowerGen in Florida, February 21st to 23rd. And of course, our partner in getting us around all over the world is Savona Equipment. So a huge thank you to them for being our tour sponsor. And let's kick off the interview. Bill, Toby, welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
So it's your first time on Mining Now. So we've got to kick off. With who you are as a company. Maybe Toby, maybe give us that overview.
Yeah, absolutely. So PX4 Software, we're an upcoming software and exploration automation tool for the mining exploration sectors. We've just come off the back of a really successful Alaskan mining conference, which was our first kind of foray into the North American market. We've just launched an Alaskan-specific claims management solution, which is gathering a lot of interest already. Before that, we were at IMARC as well and met some of the team at Crownsman, which was great. And again, lots happening in this space around the country for us and around the world for us. We've also got a Namibian product in the market, so we'll be at Indaba with you as well.
Oh, you'll be at Indaba?
Yeah, in February, which is really exciting. And I guess what we've built as a system is a approval management, claims management, kind of tenement management is what we call it, automation tool for the mining and exploration industry. So we'll get into a bit more detail about kind of where we've come from and what the system does. But a really, really exciting time for us where we're really expanding internationally. We're seeing a lot of demand for kind of approval management systems that give visibility of data and access to data to all the key players within companies that need it.
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit before the show started, and it's almost a problem that but when you were explaining it to me, I was kind of getting confused on, well, how did they do it before? I assumed there was something like that. So I'm going to get you to walk me through it a little bit more. But I was also curious, and maybe Bill, put this over to you, is why this sort of the boots on the ground, coming to Alaska, coming in here? Why was it important for you to sort of make this trip and sort of be here in person on the ground?
Oh, Joe, look, I think it's like any business. Face-to-face sometimes takes you to a different level of understanding, relationship building, being able to explain your products. I think it's almost any business. If you can do face-to-face, you're far better off, right? But for us, we had done the product with a group up there called Felix Gold. They initiated us producing this for them, and they're well respected up there. They're quite an active gold explorer. They had some 950 mining claims that they needed to manage, and it just wasn't, it wasn't fair to their staff, the pressure that brings to actually try to manage these things. So they needed some way of doing it and getting from A to B. So with that product, we were invited to go up there, and we had a booth and present, and we just met an amazing array of Alaskans in Anchorage, a really enthusiastic mining industry. So it was a joy to be there. But that face-to-face gave us an enormous number of contacts. So our product will expand up there quite quickly.
I think also off the back of COVID as well, a couple of years of people not being able to do things.
Yeah.
And I think the Alaskans felt that as well. This was the AMA conference was the first time in a couple of years they've been able to hold that. So I think there was this feeling of, everyone trying to get back to it. And
was it a good energy?
Yeah. The energy of the Alaskans was incredible.
Was it?
Of the not just the organizing committee, but everyone that was there brought this real enthusiasm and passion for the mining industry. And I think Alaska is quite a unique place in the American sense for that, because it's such
Yeah.
a huge state.
And it's
sti-
separated by a massive country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Canada.
And they've got all these
incredible
challenges as well,
Yeah.
that we'll touch on in terms of the broader mining industry and where we are. But still such a warm and welcoming people as well.
Yeah, I was curious. Did the conversations when you're offering something new to a market? How quickly could you sort of, and maybe both of you could have some perspectives. I'm sure you're both talking to people up there. How quickly were you able to sort of connect them to what you were doing and sort of create that demand in the conversations?
Oh, look, I think it's any good marketing strategy. We were there with a software tool to help you manage mining claims safely and effectively, that you've got security, right? And it works your workflow and it helps you approve. So with just those one or two sentences, everybody we speak to understands that, the people we're targeting, because that's their life.
Right.
That's where they are, whether they be the exploration geologist, they be the CEO, whether they be the mine manager, or what they call landmen up there. We call them tenement managers down under. All those people in that space, as soon as we have those couple of sentences, they understand exactly where they sit, because they've been dealing with this most of their lives.
Right. Do you come out of the mining sector?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had over 40 odd years in the mining sector, so I can give you a little bit of my history, and then that might lay into the software.
A little bit of backstory there, yeah, absolutely.
So Gerard, I started as I had my post-grad. I got offered a job at a uranium mine called Ranger, and I went up there to work in Sorcon to make sure this thing didn't pollute. It was the very first mine that ever had an environmental impact study in Australia. I was up there when they started to build it, and that was my foray into the industry. It was really quite exciting. And from there, it took me to Colorado. I went and worked with a company then called AMAX, which
That's a beautiful state as well,
right?
Colorado.
Oh, absolutely. It was gorgeous. I was at a place called Mount Emmons, which was an old silver lead zinc mine. They were going back into mine moly, but the silver lead zinc mine was actually, it had an acid mine drainage problem. Whilst I was there, they'd built a $12 million treatment plant to stop the pollution. That was going to cost them about $1 million a year to keep it running, and that was back in the early 80s. And within months of that, within almost weeks of that plant being operating, it was clean water again in what they called Coal Creek. So this is a little place called Crested Butte, Gunnison County. There is a ski resort on the other side called Crested Butte. Beautiful part of the world. From there, I came back to Queensland. I got offered a job in Queensland in the Queensland Mines Department. I was the second environment person ever employed. That job took me all over Queensland. It's the most wonderful job. I would be in the office for 2 weeks, and then for a week I'd be travelling Queensland. And Queensland's massive. It's a huge, huge state. It takes 3 hours to fly from one end to the top. And I would go out and I'd visit all these miners, and there were literally thousands of small alluvial miners or tin miners, opal miners, copper miners, sapphire miners. Then we had bauxite miners up there, mineral sands, coal, big copper deposits, silver, lead, zinc deposits, massive coal in the Bowen Basin. We had coal down at Ipswich. There was stuff all over. And I'd go everywhere, fly out and go for a week. But my job also required me to process every mining lease in the state of Queensland. So every mining lease that was to be approved, I would see it. And I was the sixth person in a row of six stages in the process to see the document.
The same document?
The same document. This is the mining lease application document, right? I'd see this document. And so what would happen is that I'd go out on site and somebody would say to me, well, where's my mining lease? Why isn't it granted? What's going on? Now, if it wasn't in my desk or coming across it, I could pull it up out of the system and have a look at it. And I'd look at these 6 folios. Or it actually hasn't got to me, or it's got here. And I'd start to see all the problems. And I'd send them a little note, or I'd ring them or phone them and send them a note and say, this is where you're up to.
So these 6 people sort of just these 6 people are looking at different aspects of it?
Correct. So you've got a register that it comes through. First it comes from the warden, then there was a registrar, it went to them, then it went into the survey section, it went into geology, the engineers, then the environment. So everybody had
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. So everybody...
And there were issues in there?
Right. So what happened is that every time I went, this started for me to understand, people didn't actually know how to get mining leases granted. So all of a sudden I thought, okay, I'm going to track this. I want to know what's going on. So I had this big spreadsheet over here, a book of spreadsheet. I'd put in the mining lease number and the name and then all these issues. and whether they were the first folio, the second, the third, the fourth, or the sixth. And I just started to collect all the issues. I'd write them down, then the next one. They'd process across my desk. Eventually, after about 6 months, I had this massive list of all these problems that people weren't getting it right. And then with
Consistent.
they were stuffing up all different things.
Consistent and unique.
Yeah, absolutely. It was all over the place. But at the end of the day, with all that data, and it was probably 12 months I'd done this for, before I realised I'd go and set up my own shingle. And in that data, less than 10% could get a mining lease granted like that, effectively and efficiently. The other 90+% would get caught up in the system, letters back and forth, this and that, because they had one little thing wrong here. Or
So
this.
I want to clarify this, because was a lot of it unavoidable stuff out of that 90%? Would half of it
look, 70%
was avoidable?
was avoidable. Absolutely, probably more. All right? So I went and hung up my shingle. I started this little business, hung up my shingle, just me, and I had my checklist. And so when the client started, I started working this checklist. And I'd just do it. And eventually I got a reputation for getting mining leases granted quicker and faster than anyone else. And that was me. Very competitive. This is what we're going to do. And that was the outcome.
You probably just got an email just now, just with that statement.
So look, I had a brochure back. I had a brochure back then, cut the red tape. It's probably not appropriate today, but that was the brochure when we started. So we're doing that. And the other thing that happened, and this wasn't me, this was just sheer luck. I had no idea. A gold rush had started, and it come out of Western Australia and flowed into Queensland. So before I knew it, I had literally thousands of claims and mining leases that I was managing. And I'm doing this all on paper. At the same time that was happening, I'm trying to cope with all of this and just scared I'm going to miss something or not get this approved in time.
Are you still solo at this point?
No. By this point, I had a draftsman who did all the mapping and went and did the searches and put things together like that. And then I had a finance guy come in because he was doing the ins and outs for me, because that just allowed me just to keep doing the hourly rates and what I had to do. But he had also done a software programming course, and we're talking 1987, 88. And Michael and I sat down together. Michael Binnington was his name, and he was sensational. And Michael and I sat down together. I said, Michael, he said, Bill, I could probably write something. And he had done Paradox, DOS 2.0. Right, we're talking pre-Microsoft.
It's pre-Toby.
Pre-Toby. Pre the families. All right? Anyway, so we wrote this thing, and I sat there and I'd open the act up and I'd follow the mining claim, this is it, and we'd follow the process through, and I'd show him the workflows. This would have to be paid, this would have to be done at this date, this is done here, this is done there. And he would script it. So he was doing his ones and his zeros, and he was programming it. And we did it for the mining lease and the exploration. That became our Bible. And it was a thing we called MENS. It was Mining Exploration Management System. And it was powerful, and we used it for many, many years. The business grew. All right? It grew to such an extent that eventually we moved into an office that could take 50 people. But when we moved in, it was quite a few years later, and the LAN system that we picked up for that office was a Microsoft LAN system. And Microsoft had come into being, had been in play for a couple of years. So we took this system on, but what that meant, it wouldn't talk to our Paradox. So Michael hated Microsoft because it wouldn't talk. But in the corner, we had 3 desks that just ran that software to manage the tenements. The rest of the staff built, we had geologists, environmental scientists, lawyers. It was, and all doing project management and getting projects approved. We still did that project approval, pit to port, right? Which means we'd bring in the power line, we'd bring in the pipeline, we'd bring in the water line, the railhead or the road, and the mining lease approved. And if they needed a port facility, we'd do that. So we became this business that did pit to port approvals. Right, and all the complications that go with it. All right? So come in the 2000s and the noughties, we decided we had to upgrade. We needed a new product. And we found a lady called Donna Gaffney, who is right now, she's the other founder with me of PX4, a brilliant lady. And in 2007, she wrote a new product for us in Access. All right? So this is land asset management systems. She wrote it in Access. So then I don't know, 4 or 5 years later, I actually sold the business. It went into a small public company in Australia. It's now in a couple of bits now elsewhere. And I did a few other things. Donna kept working with the directors and kept building this system. And then I got a phone call from one of the directors saying, I'm not happy where we're working. We've got 2 Richards that joined me, and we started a whole brand new business, Richard Smith and Richard Davis. We started a brand new business. We brought in a whole heap of the old staff from the old business. A lot of the clients came back. And we turned around and went, we need a new system. So I ring up Donna, as you do. Ring up Donna. She wants to come on the journey. So we looked at, okay, we couldn't use the old product that Donna had because that had gone with the old business and they owned it, right? But Donna also said, it's time to upgrade. Access was 2007. So this was 6 years ago. So what was that?
2016.
2016.
Yeah.
So we're nearly 10 years after the 2007. So Donna and I sat down, we looked at it, and we spoke with the Richards, and we looked at it, and in the end, I went all the way around Australia and international looking for a product that would deliver the workflows and the way we would get the mining lease approved. We wanted the power of what we had before. But none of those products had it. All our competitors now, they were like in Access, they were databases, or they were just one jurisdiction trying to be all things to all people.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Which just isn't the way it works, because every state and every jurisdiction is different. So Donna and I looked at that, and we looked at the price, we looked at this, the other directors, and we did all this competitor analysis, and we did it a few times, not once. And in the end, we decided we would build this ourselves. So the next step was we then looked at low code. Could we find low code by which we could quickly build this? And we went through and we looked at all the low code, and the problem with the low code was it didn't actually do everything we needed it to do. There were steps still missing, the connections, there's a whole raft of things in the workflows that weren't going to work for us. Secondly, a lot of that low code was really expensive, and if we bought into it, our clients would have to buy into it. So not only would we be paying these guys, they're paying us, and like, bang. So in the end, Donna said, all right, I've got all this knowledge, let's go from scratch.
And how long would this up until this point?
This was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So for 4 years, Donna and I worked on building this product from the ground up. It was a 4-year build, and in that, a whole brand new stack of our own, very, very smart. Right? We don't realise how powerful what we've built. We'll talk about that later. So that was 4-year build, and 2 years ago, Toby joined us, and we went to market. But during that period with Donna and I, we brought in another director, Conrad Doro, who's a project manager, and he pulls hardware and software together for even big mining companies, does a lot of that work. So he was quite au fait in this space. So we're the 3 directors. We brought Toby in, and Toby's taken us to market. So it's been quite the journey, but I've been playing in that field for 35 years with software in this space. And we go to the fundamentals of making this absolutely, like a pursuit of excellence. Yeah. That the fundamentals are solid, and everything we do for a client will have great outcomes for them.
Were you taking on projects during that 4 years?
No. In the last 2 years we have, but no, in that first 4 years, no, there was money. We were just building the product. Right?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide where I want to go with this.
Well, let me go back a step. Sorry. The parent company that helped set PX4 up, where these other 2 directors, the 2 Richards are, they tested the product, they used the product in-house, because they were the special subject matter experts in the team. So, so the real difference between us and a lot of other players is that we bring 2 parts to the table in this space. We are absolute subject matter experts in looking after exploration of mining tenements, mining claims, getting them approved, looking after them effectively and efficiently. And then we have Donna and our software. So together we've been on this journey, Donna and I, for 15 years.
Wow.
So we understand what's needed. We're not just software. We're not just subject matter experts. We're the 2 together.
I think that's quite a unique combination in this space, because oftentimes you'll have a subject matter expert, but they're working then they're trying to build a piece of software that they've got no idea about, or you've got a software maker that's trying to build something for the mining exploration space without understanding the fundamentals of the industry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it's everything. And we've seen that a lot on the show. The people that do really well in this space, they have mining There's a mining background. It's just,
Yeah.
and it's even more so than other industries, it seems. I want to talk into. I want to spin it around from the customer side of sort of bringing, sort of day one of bringing on the technology. Sort of walk us through that, how you build it and then they adopt it. Before that, I kind of building off yours is, so day one, and I'm always curious about this. When you take on a new role, especially with as much history as you're coming into in a company, what's the first week for you?
Bloody hell! Well, that for me was learning the industry. You know,
Right.
because I'm not a mining guy or
Yeah.
exploration guy by background. So I went to school with Bill's son,
Oh,
and
okay.
so I've known Bill for 20 years and have been, pretty much grew up in Bill's house, playing silly buggers as kids with Bill's son. And so for me, this sounds like an amazing journey that you've been on. And I've seen Bill do some amazing things over the years. And so I really bought into the journey and what the team was trying to do. And I met with Donna, I met with Conrad and said, I gave them kind of my story and said, this is me. Do you guys believe that I can do this and take this company to the market? And they did. They've believed in me ever since. And so I learnt the industry. I learnt what the problems are with, what is a tenement? Why is it important? Why do you need to make sure that those tenements are managed effectively to be able to be an explorer or a miner? And then from there, it's been an incredible 2 years.
What's a big takeaway when you go up to something like the mining event in Alaska? Do you sort of, as you're sort of, I'm sure like I would do, as you're sort of getting on the plane leaving, it's kind of going through your head what you've sort of seen and taken in. Are there a couple things that sort of stand out to you?
From Alaska specifically, yeah, I mean, it's interesting in Alaska. So and also around the States, they've got these quite interesting and unique land ownership kind of breakdowns within Alaska and within the States, where they've got state-owned land, federal-owned land, native title-owned land, and then
private.
Private land,
Private,
exactly. And so each of those different entities has its own unique processes.
Right.
But interestingly, in Alaska, there's only really one or two key dates each year for your claims. Right,
Oh,
so you've
okay.
got like a payment date and you've got to lodge an affidavit of labor. And so in terms of actual claim management, that stuff's not that hard. There's only one date. If you miss that date, you
You're on to the
need to look at another industry.
Yeah.
Whereas in Australia, all of your claims and all of the dates work on the anniversary date. So you can have 365 different dates and different obligations all due each different day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So it was about trying to tell the industry in Alaska that might just be your claim management piece. But look, and the claim is your primary approval. Without that claim, you can't do anything on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But then you start to look at all of the secondary layers of approvals that are required to actually go and do anything. And then all of those claims and all of those permits, your water licenses, your fish habitat permits, we've scripted all of those into the system to be able to operate in Alaska as well. So once we got that message across, people got it.
Right.
Like, wow,
yeah.
okay, so this is all of our agreements managed in the system. This is all of our permits managing the systems. It's not just the claim.
Right.
It starts to become this really holistic approval and this management system of all of those key things that you need to do to be able to operate on the ground.
But that is part of the challenge of rolling out something new to somebody, is that there's always a risk almost that they will latch on to one application, and you almost see it. I'm saying it in a negative way. I don't actually mean it that way, but just for lack of a better way to approach it, it's almost like you'll see people shut off. They'll take on. They'll go, oh, it does this. Oh, I don't need that. And
It's
then
only
you
one
almost-
date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you sort of, especially coming into this North American market, the U.S., Canada, different states, we have provinces, territories, the whole gamut that you're walking into. How do you sort of approach it? I'll leave that to either one of you to answer. It's not an easy question.
I might start on it if you wouldn't mind, Bill, and then
Please.
I'll throw to you.
Prompt me, Toby. Prompt me.
So PX4, the name PX4 comes from Process Pathway Platform Package. That's the name of the company, and that's how we build our solution. And as Bill said, over 4 years we've built this unique workflow engine that drives our products, right? So we can build these amazing workflows within it. So step one is what we call process mapping. And so to use Alaska as the example, we take the Alaskan Mining Act and we identify all of the key claims that exist in Alaska, and we see, okay, well, there's a federal claim as well, which is not Alaskan law. That's a federal legislation.
So are you working with a lawyer to do this? Is your team getting that act and going through it? How do you approach it? I'm definitely a nuts and bolts guy.
No,
so I'm
absolutely.
Trying to wrap my mind around it.
So this specific process we did with the team at Felix Gold. So Felix Gold are a really well-established Alaskan explorer with Dave Larimer and Vanessa Larimer, who are these really, really experienced players in the industry. And so we took the Mining Act and we mapped out from pre-application, so even before you lodge an application.
So when Toby says we have subject matter experts. We have people that have played in this space their whole careers and in more than one jurisdiction, so all over the world or all over Australia. So they understand all the jurisdictions change, but they understand how to read a mining act, whether it be in Alaska, British Columbia, Nevada, New Mexico. They know how to read an act, which is the starting point.
Are the acts similar enough that if you know the British Columbian one, you can learn the Nevada one? Are they similar language that they use, or does it get quite different?
I'll just finish this, then you can come back to Toby. Look. In general, there's like the Brits started most of the states in America. The Brits started most of the provinces and territories in Canada, and the British started all of the states in Australia. Now, each time they did a state, the Crown put its flag in the ground, so the minerals belong to us. Here's our Mining Act. So they've all derived over a period of time, hundreds of years, into their own state. Now some of those have some variations in them, but the fundamental that the mineral belongs either to the Crown or the state, and you have to apply for these licenses to do exploration, mining claim, prospecting, or mining, it's the same. All right?
Right.
So...
Yeah, and obviously, coming from Australia, we've got 6 states and one major territory that all have their own unique mining act.
Right.
They're all similar. They all have something for
British
exploration.
sort of basis coming out of it.
Yeah. I mean, because we're all, being a Commonwealth country as well, similar to you guys, that there are certain things that are similar, but to be able to actually take the legislation of the jurisdiction you're operating in and use that as the basis for what you're building, I think that's kind of the unique part of our solution, a part of our engine. And so we've done our process throughout the whole of Australia, and our system is live across the whole of Australia. And it takes a fair amount of time to get that finalised. Maybe if I go back to the process mapping.
But just to answer your original question, that processing, the client will have some subject matter experts in that jurisdiction, and they'll know lawyers that do. But we just don't talk to them. We'll pick up the phone and talk to the department experts within the mines department in that state.
Right, so you are actually doing that legwork as well.
Absolutely,
we talk to everybody to make sure we get
And the reason I'm sort of going after this particular subject is because I have a bit of the marketing background, is one confusion that happens is if you're building an online strategy, the company starts to think, then we don't need to do the in-person stuff. It's like, no, it's all connected, right? So whenever I hear about software, I want to understand what are the people doing behind this software? Because you're out of the mining sector, you know how key that is to the topic. And the next question I wanted to actually cover is what stage at what stage of the mining operation or the exploration do you fit in, or should people be or is it any stage?
Yeah, if I perhaps go back one step, so to the PX4 part. So the first P, process mapping, we get the subject matter experts that we have both in-house and that we take from, in this example, a collaborative partner in Alaska, and we map out that legislative obligation from pre-application all the way through to the grant stage. Are there renewals? Is there expenditure obligations? Is there relinquishment requirements? Is there native title obligations that come in, or environmental requirements that you need to satisfy to get that particular license approved? And we map this really, really complex pro forma document from pre-application through to relinquishment or non-currency or whatever
closure.
It might be.
Right through to mine closure.
And we do that for every claim type in a new jurisdiction.
So it's from the beginning to the end, from the cradle to the grave.
And then we give that process map to our pathway scripting team. So that's where we move into the pathways.
That's where the software now takes
Exactly.
over.
So that's when we give that process map to Donna and her team. And then Donna goes into our engine and builds these really complex workflows that align with those obligations that our subject matter experts have identified in the workflow. And in there, we've got the black and the white of the legislation. But as Bill said, then we talk to subject matter experts locally. We speak to lawyers. We speak to the department, and we get all of that grey area of the actual implementation on the ground. Because everyone can read an act and say, well, this feels like that's what we need to do. But to actually speak with people on the ground that are implementing this day in and day out, they can say, well, actually, for this type of claim, you actually need to lodge it in person, or you have to do this. We get that real knowledge on the ground. And that's that step 2, that pathway scripting. And then we put it on the platform. So we've got our development team that put it onto the interface, and oftentimes the terminology is different in different jurisdictions. So we make sure that when you're operating in Alaska, what you're looking at is Alaskan terminology, Alaskan obligations, and the actions you're looking at are based on your obligations to operate in Alaska. So that's another unique kind of aspect where, a lot of other companies in this space will have a standardized interface, and if you're looking at Queensland or WA, it's all the same.
Right.
Whereas for ours, it's very much jurisdictionally specific.
It's really amazing. And by the way, thank you for sort of actually walking through it, because I've done, and I've done other interviews where we're just really not peeling back. And I know, because I'm not a software engineer or anything, I know the audience listening, I'm like, they're not going to be able to understand what's being discussed. But I know the way you both are walking through this and sort of going back and forth, our audience will actually get it.
Cool. But there's one more P.
We're just simple.
We're just down under true blue Aussie.
That's good. That's really good for me.
Yeah.
Then.
And so the last P is the package. Yeah. So we package this system up. So, we have a client come to us and say, hey, we want Queensland, WA, Namibia, Vancouver, or BC and Lima, or Peru. Okay, so that's
I thought you were going to try to name all the Canadian provinces.
Oh,
imagine. Don't
we'll be here all day.
Don't do it.
Hey, Siri. So that's kind of the first bit. Then how many editors do you want in the system? Because that's kind of what we charge for. We provide unlimited viewer access into the system. So again, we want to get this data to the people that need it in the organization. But then we also have a number of kind of add-on modules and tools that make this package far more appealing. So I spoke about, it also does all these permits and all of these agreements, and save your documents directly into the system. So you've got all these kind of periphery tools that are also used, and you can package it up and away you go. And
the government hasn't showed up and said, "Hey, can we have this yet?"
You say that, but
no, I'm not.
We're having a few discussions.
Sorry, I shouldn't be getting it.
I mean, one of those powerful tools. We've got these really powerful modules that we've created as well, and one's agreements. Now, you can imagine from the beginning of an exploration license, you might have a JV with somebody, a JV agreement. Then you might have some access agreements. And all the way through, you've got all these agreements. They build and build and build until you've got compensation agreements, and you've got mining agreements, all sorts of things. So those agreements now can be in this agreements module, which you can see them. But you can take the salient points out, and it has its own workflow and dates. When I've got to do this on this date, I've got to pay for this, I've got to renew this. So you might have 100 agreements on a mine site. They've all now got visual that tell you what to do and when to do it. Right, so some really clever things that have been put in there.
Yeah.
Just
to round it out, then your second question there was, at what stage within the process do people use our tool? So from pre-application, so even if you're thinking about, hey, I'd be interested in lodging a claim on this particular exploration site, you can start to populate our system. The system will walk you through everything you have to have done to be able to lodge a claim that's going to be approved. It goes back to Bill's history of actually following the legislation.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, okay, let's lodge an application, and they'll just lodge a bit of a half attempt at an application. They'll come back and say, well, you haven't done your EIS, you haven't done your native title publication,
and
whatever it might be.
You get 6 different people telling you 6 different things.
Exactly. So from pre-application, and that's for both exploration and mining.
Yeah.
So it's the whole life cycle of both the exploration and the mining industry.
Yeah.
We have clients in all of those phases.
But could you enter in at the operations phase?
Any
or the
stage.
Absolutely.
Any stage. Okay.
Yeah, because you've still got that approval. You've still got that primary approval in place.
One thing I really wanted to get to as well is this is this hit the dates, or could this also be used as a way to expedite? And of course, I'm talking about the much bigger picture globally of mineral demand, mining demand right now. Can
Yeah.
this be used as a way to expedite some of these that are now taking? I mean, there's some stories of 15 years before a mine actually produces anything.
Yeah, look. This will give you a visual, but it won't change the fundamentals that society's facing. You know, we've gone from this exploration mining lease approval processes that were 0 to 6 months 20 years ago, or a bit more. We've now gone, as you said, some jurisdictions are 15 years. We've seen stuff up to 8 to 10 years in Australia. We've probably got an average of 3 to 4, depending on the size of the mine and what it is. It's just, it's actually scary that we've gone down that route. We ask for a lot more data, and just go bang, 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 but it's not always relevant to what we need. For example, the first EIS in Australia was at Ranger, where I worked. The very first EIS ever in Australia, and it was at Ranger Uranium Mine. It was that big, right? And that mine got implemented and it never polluted, right? It had a couple of spills that got caught in the retainment areas, but never. It was, it worked. We now have got EISs like this, and all we've done, the same process hasn't actually changed in Australia, pretty much around the world. All we've done is just ask for more and more topics, more and more things that aren't actually relevant to the overall risk of the mine, because they're things we've been doing them for 40 years. They're actually a plan that you should be doing. So society needs to actually make a decision here, because there's three things that's happening to us. We've got, if everybody wants the renewables and we want the electric cars, we know from around the world, all the economists in the mineral space are telling us we're going to need tons and tons more of just basic
And this is
metals.
every single one. Nobody's disagreeing
that's right.
with it.
That's
Yeah.
right. So we're going to need this enormous quantum of copper. We don't know where it's going to come from. But what we have at the moment is we've almost got a society that hates mining, and it's been perpetuated. We've got people that aren't doing the geology courses. We've got courses at uni being dumbed down. We're seeing laboratory time at unis for earth science and geoscience and geology dumbed down. So we're not going to get that number out there. But to find one gold mine, we need 1,000 gold prospects to get one. Now, so the odds are really
Hard to
huge.
even wrap your
And we're
mind around
running
it,
out
yeah.
of young geologists. We're not getting them. So we've got the young geologists that we've got getting. We've got this high risk of to find it, 1 in 1,000 for gold. Copper's probably 1 in 500. And then at the end of the day, we've now got this explosion in the approval process. So do we really want to have a renewable society in terms of energy, electric cars and all that? If we do, we actually have to look at these fundamentals. I haven't seen many politicians that understand that. They kind of seem around the world devoid. The governor at Mike Delaney up in Alaska, DeLavy, thank you. He gets it. We heard him speak a couple of times. We met him. He gets it.
He just got re-elected, you were saying?
Re-elected, yeah. And so he kind of gets it. But I don't see too many premiers or governors, prime ministers around the world that actually get this. So if this is the outcome you want, we believe in that outcome, right? You cannot hate mining. Right? If you're going to continue to hate mining, then we're not going to actually get those outcomes.
Yeah.
All we're going to do is end up paying a lot more for energy. We're going to have a whole lot of energy disruptions, and we're not going to achieve
And we're going
those
to need
outcomes.
it, and we're going to need it, and then the corners will get cut.
We
then
need
the
to-
Yeah,
things
that's
that
when things
shouldn't
will go
get
wrong.
approved will get approved because the demand
Yeah,
will be so high.
absolutely.
That's
It'll be a
right.
requirement.
That's potentially an outcome.
Like a war that breaks out somewhere.
Yeah, and then
Heaven forbid.
with all that will come those high risk environmental
Yeah.
risks that we need to protect. So we can still do all this. We've been at it long enough to know
Yeah.
we can build this with the environmental controls and manage the risks. We know that. We've been at it so long. Right? And we're talking here, like in Australia, 0.1% of the landmass, or is it 0.01? Better check that, Joe, before we go to market.
We'll bring it up on
But
the screen.
that's mining. That's the footprint of mining. The footprint for urban is twice that in Australia. So we're talking about really tiny footprints, tiny,
Yeah.
right, compared to the mass. I'm pretty sure it's 0.01.
Yeah.
and then 0.02 because it's just the land mass. It's massive. It's like up here. It's like in Alaska.
Yeah.
Like in Canada. So we're kind of, the hatred of mining
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense because everything in society relies on a mineral of some sort.
Yeah.
Everything. The processing of all your vegetables and crops and food, everything you eat and your fishing, everything, just to go and get food and make food or grow food, there's metals involved or energy involved. And nothing in this room right now has not had some aspect to do with the mining industry to make it, build it, create it. And the same going forward. How many minerals in your mobile phone?
17.
17 or between 16 and 8, something like that.
Okay,
the
you
same-
guys planned this out.
Yeah,
Right?
I
But
have
it's the
seen
same,
the slide.
But it's the same with the quantum of copper needed in a brand new electric car. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Or in a
Right.
wind farm. Wind
Solar
turbine.
panels, 18, 19 minerals.
Yeah.
So we just don't need these really strategic minerals
Right.
and critical minerals. We need all minerals.
But do you think though that software like PX4 mixed with we just had a company on that's doing 3D models, so that they've actually can create websites where like the local community could actually come in and see the construction, see how it is, and if the company can actually hit all their checklists and can be transparent about it. Do you think though these things can at very least make a better argument so it's a little bit easier for if a government is against mining, then it's obviously very difficult. But sometimes especially with politicians, it's more of the risk of saying yes. So can it minimize that risk of them getting behind these projects?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the main kind of functions of PX4 is this full auditability and reportability of the things that you're doing. And so not only can you as an organization look forward and say, okay, well, show me every obligation that we've got across our permits, our agreements, our mining claims, our tenements for the next 6 months for one specific project. Show me everything we've just done for the last 12 months. Show me every conversation we've had with a landholder for the last 12 months.
And it would be documentation on if you do it right here, if you were on another project, you can
Absolutely.
now present that as documentation as
Yeah,
well, right?
and it's evidence to shareholders that you're doing the right
Yeah.
thing. It's evidence to departments that you're doing the right thing. And it's a good safety measure across your organization as well, so that the managing director can look back and say, show me everything we've done.
Yes.
Boom, here it is.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We can tick that off against everything that we know we need to do.
Yeah, so it's like we're looking ultimately at like an environmental impact statement module that can fit in there
Right.
and that will give transparency. But there's also we've come across a couple of companies that pull data remotely and from labs, and they categorize it all within your requirements, your environmental requirements on the site. So here's the limits for water. Here's the different parameters going out, and they'll categorize that and they'll digitize the reports. And we can pull them down and stick them in the appropriate tenement where it belongs. So there's a whole lot of tools complementing what we're doing that are going to give this far greater transparency as well.
Wow.
And I think, something a little bit of a segue, but we look at a piece of ground, right? And underneath that piece of ground, there are so many different layers of stakeholders that are interested in what's happening on this piece of land. So at the moment in our system, at the top of that stack of cards, if you will, at the top of that stack is the exploration or mining company that's got their approval and they're managing that approval. Below them, they might have native title parties that they have obligations to be able to, or to communicate, to pay royalties, to
Have agreements with.
Absolutely. Then you've got local councils, you've got your boroughs where you need to do certain things, you've got overlapping tenure holders. You might have oil and gas companies operating on the same piece of land but looking for something else.
And then the core landowner underneath. Could be pastoral, could be farming, could be forestry.
And again, you might have obligations owed to them. You might have payments or access agreements to be able to satisfy your obligations to that stakeholder. So you've got this whole stack of really motivated stakeholders that need to be able to see this information and all that information be captured together. And so if you take out, as an example, the native title party and you put them on top, all of a sudden you've got a product that is completely highlighting and showing to a native title party every mining and exploration company that owes them obligations, every other stakeholder that owes them obligations.
Right. So their stakeholders can
Yeah.
can take advantage of it as well.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
can flip it around, and we're looking at doing that. So, like in Australia, I think there's something claimants between 500 and 600 claimants for all the different mobs there, and they're smaller mobs. It's just the way they were originally, but they're all there, and they don't all have the vision on what's underneath them. And then they'll get a lawyer or somebody to try and map all this, but it's not in the one spot. Whereas our product, we're hoping that ultimately we can create this indigenous product, and we're looking for some help, philanthropic help, to take this to the native title industry in Australia. But it's not dissimilar that happens in North America, both Canada.
Not at all. No.
That's right. So we think it would be a similar product for them. That we could flip this around and just help those native title claimants, those Indigenous First Nations people, know who they should be dealing with and have vision on it. Dates pop up, etc. So they're far more aware and proactive in managing that space.
Yeah.
So it's just not ad hoc.
It's amazing stuff. I just to wrap up the interview, what's sort of the next 3 to 5 years? What are some of the goals? And both you, whoever wants to sort of take
You
that
can
up.
start.
Next 3 to 5 years, well, as we said, we've just left Alaska. We see that really as this beachhead into North America, and we see us, developing new products for new jurisdictions. So obviously, having already done the federal claims, we'd now be looking down at the state claim level. So we have a couple of interested parties that are looking at expanding into more jurisdictions within not just the states, but North America or Canada as well. We want to expand into different languages. We want to be able to create, global solutions for mining exploration companies and have global data being visible across not just different segments of the company, but within different jurisdictions as well. We mentioned a Namibian product as well, and we're going to Indaba, so we're looking at an African expansion too.
Yeah.
We've got a number
That's
of...
a fascinating, the world of South Africa is a fascinating and
Yeah,
complex one. but
absolutely.
fascinating.
They're going through a lot of turmoil at the moment and challenges with lots of things. We won't get into that too much, but we see again this compliance tool and this transparency being a really, really key part of the African mining world. So we're looking at expansion there as well. But that's just as an expansion. So, we see our team growing. We see, launching different products. We're currently building a major piece of tech for a major mining company out of WA. So we want to be launching new products and
different
expanding.
stakeholders, being more access to different stakeholders.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So there's a couple of other bigger ticket items that we know that this stack that we've created is really powerful, and that we can actually potentially create a studio for people to use our stack and take our stack to the market.
Yeah.
Right? So they can just come in and use our stack, because no one's really done it to this degree. And we know that our stack's as good as a Microsoft stack, if not better, right? Because it's purposely created and put together. It's very, very powerful. The second thing is that I guess we also have got a machine learning piece in AI where we're trying to work out better ways to read and learn scripting out of legislation. I won't go into that in too much detail, but so there's a few things that we have to do in the future just to allow us to expand
To be able
quicker.
to scale when you go into a new region, to be able to scale
So be able to
that
make
up.
it
So
much
we're
faster
good.
as well.
So we're good at scaling. We want to speed the scaling up, because every jurisdiction throughout the world, every state of Africa, every state of America, every province and territory of Canada are different.
Yeah.
Right, so each one has to be done, but how can we speed that process up? So those two steps I just mentioned are all about accelerating how we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we're covering a lot of ground in the interview, but I wanted to sort of break down to a couple specifics on the value end from the customer. Financial, I think we have to highlight that. But then also if there's sort of other things that even as I'm going through it, maybe I missed as a value add to the customer. Maybe both of you can sort of share that answer.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the key benefits that we're seeing is this massive reduction in admin time. So again, when you're using a custom-built, cloud-based, modern and intuitive solution, we've run surveys for tenement managers and claim managers and exploration managers that manage claims on how much time they save using our system, and it's between 35 and 40%.
So huge.
So it's a huge kind of time and cost saving for an organization. But something that maybe is a bit less visible, and maybe visible is not the right word in what I'm about to say, is access to data and visibility of data. These mining and exploration companies are generating so much data, and yet at the moment it's all visible by kind of a really small section of the company. So what PX4 does is create this real access and visibility to all of that data. So people are making better decisions, they're making faster decisions, and I don't need to go and ask Bill what the status of our tenements are or what our latest conversation was with the landholder, because I can see it myself. So we're seeing this access to data being this real game changer for us as well and for our clients.
Yeah.
What about you, Billy?
Bill, anything else?
Yeah, look, I would say the other benefit to the person that this tenement manager or the landman or the claims manager exploration is a health issue. You can imagine there's a number of people that try to run this on Excel. You get all your data on Excel, but Excel doesn't update every night. You have to physically look at it every day. It's a great tool, don't get me wrong, but not in this world, which means the person managing that aren't going to sleep well at night. There's an anxiety because they're responsible for the company's asset. Without the asset, you ain't in the game. You lose the exploration license, you lose the mining lease, you're out of the game. That's your asset to actually operate. That allows you to bring in the big yellow equipment. So the person managing it on Excel doesn't sleep well. There's a high level of anxiety, and any tool that's just a database is the same. And frankly, if you're an investor in a small exploration company or small mining company, I don't know whether you'd be happy if the major asset was being managed on Excel. Right?
What happens if the exploration manager leaves and they've got this spreadsheet that no one understands?
Oh, I'm sure it's happened many times.
So here's
especially with 1,000 to 1,000 exploration projects.
That's
exactly.
right.
So here's this other great benefit, Jared. It's quite interesting. The mining sector is made up. There's 5 parts to the mining industry. There's the exploration sector. There's the actual approval sector. There's the construction. There's operations where we're actually mining and getting pit to port. And then there's the closure. Now, quite often in the mining industry, nobody has worked through all those sections. You work in one or the other, right? You'll be the exploration, and then all of a sudden you'll get to a certain point, and it will go over to the approvals people to get the mining lease approved and all the agreements and the compensation, everything that you need, the EIS, everything you need to get it approved. Once it's approved, then I can now bring in the construction guys to do the civils, bring in the roads, the rail, do the pre-strip, build the treatment plant. A whole brand new set of contractors, different. And now I start mining, and I now got the mining engineers and the mining geos and that whole team, the mineral processing guys. They're a different group again. All right? So then I get to closure, and we've probably got no one left by then, unfortunately. But anyway, so they're all different. So this product can give continuity. Anyone in those sections can see it. They can see the obligations, the environmental obligations, the work obligations, everything that's going on. So there's no excuse for intellectual property on that project to be lost. And everybody has vision on it. Whereas at the moment, they're almost different segments. And data and visibility and understanding is getting lost. So there's a huge benefit of just this corporate intellectual property that's maintained from the beginning to the end.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So
Absolutely amazing, gentlemen. I certainly hope this isn't the last time we have you on the show, because I think there's a lot of more story to tell. But thank you both for joining the show. Hope you're back on.
Thanks so much.
Jared, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
thanks
amazing.
for being here, Toby.
And you, Bill. You too. Thanks for having me.
I think you guys need your own show. And thank you, everybody, for watching. The amount of support from the audience has just been unbelievable, which has been encouraging more people to come on the show like PX4. So thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of Mining Now, and we might see you in Indaba. See you there. Bye-bye.